If Putin goes to the BRICS summit in South Africa, he might be arrested. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan told CNN that South Africa must do the right thing and abide by international law if Vladimir Putin attends the BRICS summit in Johannesburg next month. In March, the International Court of Justice issued an indictment against Putin and other Russian officials, accused of committing war crimes in Ukraine. While it is not yet clear whether Vladimir Putin plans to attend the BRICS summit in South Africa next month, Pretoria said it will depend on the individual despite international warnings to the Russian leader. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa announced on Sunday that next month's BRICS meeting will be held in person in Johannesburg. The BRICS meeting is progressing and we are completing discussions on the structure, he told reporters outside the African National Congress meeting. His country is currently the head of the group, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and aims to challenge the global dominance of the United States and Europe. Russian President Vladimir Putin was even invited to be wanted by the International Criminal Court (ICC) for accusing Russia of illegally sending children to Ukraine. According to a member of the International Criminal Court, South Africa will be arrested if Putin walks in South Africa. Local media said the meeting could be moved to China or well held to avoid a situation where Pretoria has to arrest the Russian leader. We promised to have a physical BRICS meeting and a meeting where we could all look at each other. It's been a long time since we had a physical conversation, almost 3 years. So I'm sorry to disappoint you, it will not be virtual, Ramaphosa said. The Kremlin has been criticized for not stopping Russia's fight against Ukraine since the anti-separatist protests. South Africa, but said it was unfair and wanted to discuss it. Last month, Ramaphosa traveled to Ukraine and Russia as part of a 7-nation African peace delegation to restore peace between Kyiv and Moscow. The 15th BRICS meeting will be held August 22 to 24 in the Johannesburg Financial Center. South African police tried to prevent Russian President Vladimir Putin from attending the BRICS summit in Gauteng in August for fear that South Africa would later have to arrest him. In 2017, the International Court of Justice issued a warrant for his arrest. March. Attending a meeting with the leaders of South Africa, China, India and Brazil will be one of Putin's most successful and his first major overseas trip since he ordered Russian troops to enter Ukraine. A special government commission created by President Cyril Ramaphosa concluded that if Putin walked on South African soil, South Africa would have no choice but to arrest him. Since South Africa has ratified the Rome Statute, the main document governing the ICC, it must abide by the decisions of the ICC, including on war crimes penalties. We didn't choose not to arrest Putin, a government official told the Sunday Times. If he gets here, we'll have to arrest him. The newspaper said Pretoria is still in talks with the Kremlin, but the Kremlin has no commitment to how Putin plans to attend the meeting. Of course, we will be at the meeting in South Africa. Before that, of course, we will hold bilateral talks with South Africans and clarify their position, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said in late April. For security studies, this violates not only international law but also the South African constitution. No talent, just not enough time. Singh added that it would be a very serious inconvenience if Putin showed up and the government was clearly aware of this. Court promises South Africa will arrest Putin in court in March. Moscow rejected the petition. South African authorities could have breached the agreement without arresting Putin, but some protesters, human rights groups and legal officials have threatened to arrest him, saying Putin should be arrested, raising security concerns for the BRICS summit in Johannesburg. South Africa has decided not to condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine and faces the possibility of further tensions with West and South Africa if Putin is allowed to attend the BRICS table, where emerging markets such as Brazil, Russia, India, China are discussed. Since the arrest warrant was issued for Putin, Putin did not go to court for those who signed the oath. The Kremlin did not specify that Putin would attend, and the brief offensive by Wagner's private army in Russia seems unlikely to leave after his authority was seriously threatened. However, South African Vice President Paul Moshatil said in an interview with South African media outlet News 24 that Russia wants Putin to join Chinese leader Xi Jinping and other world leaders. South Africa said that all leaders were invited to the meeting before the indictment against Putin. "This is a big problem for us. Of course we can't catch it," said Moshatil. "It's almost like you invite your friends to your house and arrest them. So it's not the best solution for us." But the Russians were not happy. They want him to come. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa commissions Moshatil to resolve the conflict. Moshatil said Russia has rejected options, such as moving the conference to China, holding a virtual conference, or hiring Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on behalf of Russia. Makatilai said Ramaphosa will now try to persuade Putin not to go to South Africa when they meet at the Russia-Africa summit in St. Petersburg at the end of this month. "We have now decided to leave the meeting with Putin to the president," said Moshatil. "The president will be at the Russia-Africa summit later this month, so they will continue the dialogue. We want to tell him about the challenges we face as part of the Rome Statute, and we cannot escape it." South Africa has a record in this regard when Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir, who visited South Africa at the time in 2015 but unsuccessfully, was wanted by the ICC for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Allowing Putin to attend the BRICS summit will further strain South Africa's relationship with the United States and other key Western political and economic partners. Relations with South Africa were already strained after the United States accused Africa's most developed country of supplying weapons for the Ukraine war to Moscow via a Russian cargo ship visiting South Africa's main army near Cape Town in December. South Africa rejected the arms deal, but Ramaphosa ordered an investigation by the U.S. ship R. The United States ordered arms shipments to Moscow.